Okay, in spectacles in 5 minutes. We're now moving on to Sheila's re-entry. She was here at the beginning. She comes back in now, and this is a very important section in which we see Sheila kind of emerge from who she was in the opening into a much clearer sense of a person ready to learn and understand. So we start here with her entering. Notice that it describes her as entering gaily, happily. Okay, she's in a very good mood at this point. That's worth being aware of. Meanwhile, as the inspector repeats what's happened, once again, notice after several hours of agony, again, he makes that emotive point straight away. Her immediate reaction is, "Oh, how horrible." Now, this, I think, immediately compares to her father, to Burling. If you remember, one of the first things he said, or the first thing he said when he heard was, yes, horrid business. So almost the same word, horrid, horrible. But his wasn't genuine, hers clearly is. Okay, so once again, like Eric, we see her genuine element of it. But to follow it up with, was it an accident? At best, seems naive, at worst, kind of stupid. Really. Quite how you have an accident and drink some disinfectant, I'm not sure. Not paying attention, leave the disinfectant in the same place as your bottle of beer and reach around and grab the wrong one. But bearing in mind she drank more than a sip, well, there you go. Anyway, it carries on, Burling pointing out that she was causing trouble in the works, etc., etc. Again, Gerald points out he would have done the same thing. So once again, we've got this idea of Gerald being alongside Burling. But this is really all about Sheila. Sheila, notice, is genuinely distressed and is struggling to follow the conversation. She can't help thinking about the girl destroying herself so horribly. It's really, really bothered her. But again, at this stage, she then follows up with, "I've been so happy tonight, though. I wish you hadn't told me." Which, again, is a slightly childish reaction, if not quite selfish reaction, really. Not, "I wish it hadn't happened, I wish you hadn't told me." She goes into asking about her age and whether she was pretty, which I think brings us to the idea that at this point she's kind of superficial in what she's asking. Yet at the same time, it also draws up the connection between the two of them. Sheila is described as pretty early on. Fairly soon we'll hear, or we do hear certainly in the play, that Eva was 24 and Sheila is in her young 20s. So essentially the connection between the two is being drawn up. They're trying to get rid of the inspector, saying, "We can't help you because we don't know what happened afterwards." This leads to the inspector saying, or Burling said, "You didn't come here just to see me then." The inspector says no, which means obviously he's come to see the other people in the room. Okay, in fact, in the house. So you'd think at that point that therefore Burling would be upset with this, because essentially he's being told that either his son, his daughter, his wife, or his future son-in-law are in trouble with the law. But no, with a marked change of tone, he says, "Well, of course, if I'd known that earlier, I wouldn't have called you officious and talked to reporting you." Okay, again, shows how selfish he is. He's only concerned about whether it affects him, even instead of his own family. As he says, it makes a difference. Same phrase he'll use at the end. It carries on with them beginning to talk about responsibility. Eva Smith is the name comes up. Sheila's never heard it before. And it then carries on into the next bit, where the inspector starts to tell the story of what happens to her. After 2 months with no work, no money coming in, living in lodges, with no relatives to help her few friends, lonely, half-starved, she was feeling desperate. Notice the effect of the longer list at this point of what has happened to her. Sheila is genuinely warm in her response to this, which is where the inspector then just harshly points out this is a problem all around the place. This is where cheap labour comes from. Leading to one of the best known quotes in the entire, or best known lines that's quoted in the entire book, when Sheila says, "But these girls aren't cheap labour, they're people." Please note here, unlike the way some people try and use this, this is not sign of Sheila changing. She's only spoken to the inspector a couple of times. She certainly doesn't know what she's done at this point. This is her genuine feelings that show us again from the start what she had. Okay, we come back to Millwards. We go back to the story of how she got a fresh start there, how it's a bit of luck. She worked really hard, although do notice that Burling wants to say she got herself into trouble there, I suppose, not doing her work properly. He seems to be desperate to put her down, I suppose, to show that he was right in the first place. But what we hear then is that what he did brings up what Sheila obviously realises she did in January. He brings out the photograph for the second time. Worth noticing how she reacts. She recognises it with a little cry, gives a half-stifled sob, and then runs out. Why? Well, because again, she's trying to stifle her sob, trying to hold it in, maybe like the old Sheila, just trying not to show what she feels, and then runs away. At this point, you might think that she's still the little girl, despite the good parts we've seen, trying to run away and not deal with what she's done. But of course, she's back within a few minutes.